Okay. Hi, my name is Marissa Lauren, and I am the owner of Our Haven Studios, and welcome to the Havens Diaries. There's literally no uncringy way to do that. Anyway, we'll make it work. Welcome to episode 5. It has been a hot minute since I have put one out. This is turning a hobby into a career. And so some of you already kind of know my story and how I landed here. Most of you do not. And so we're kind of just going to dive into that a little bit today. And I want this to be a little bit more conversational. So you're getting all of the odd, quirky Marissa-isms. At what point did you realize dance would become more than a hobby for you? I don't actually know if there was ever like a true pivotal moment for me where I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I went to York University for dance, and I also went to Mohawk for small business and entrepreneurship, but I don't really recall ever having a moment of, I'm gonna be a professional dancer or I'm gonna own my own studio. It was all kind of things that just happened in a really great sequence. I was managing a gymnastics studio at the time. She had actually hired me for her competitive gymnastics team to do the dance, like the floor portions of their routines. And from there, I built up and grew a competitive dance team, and I would work obviously with the gymnastic aspects as well. And I went through and got certified for my levels so that I could teach gymnastics. That was never something that I was like, oh, I definitely want to do this. I just knew that I wanted dance to be in my life. And when I left York University, I remember scrolling on Indeed, applying for jobs that had dance included in it. And that was one of them. And I was like, well, I'm gonna apply for that. And I did. And I remember coming down the stairs at my parents' house, and I was like, is this something that you think a choreographer would wear? Because I had to go to the interview, and I remember there were blue Lululemon harem pants, like the MC Hammer pants. I believe it was a black tank top and a plaid like button up tied around my waist. And I was so nervous. But when I went to that interview, and the interview was literally teaching a routine to the gymnastics girls, it was really, really fun. But I remember this one little girl came around the corner and she was like, whoa, you are beautiful. And I was like, this is where I'm meant to be. But maybe that perhaps was the pivotal moment, and I just didn't realize it. Not because she called me beautiful, but because I was like, okay, like I got hired for that job, and then I realized I could make a career out of dance. I would say perhaps that would be my moment where I was like, I'm gonna do this. That's for sure gonna happen. What were the first steps you took to transition from being a dancer to running a studio? What are the first steps I took? That's a really good question. So like I said, I worked at the gymnastics studio, and you cannot survive on the income of just teaching dance in the evening, surprise, surprise. So I applied to another dance job, and it was at a adult dance studio, and at the time it was called Brass Bombshells, and I applied to be a dance instructor because I got the email saying that they were looking for new blood. It was something about blood, and they were looking for like fresh blood to come into the studio and just bring something different. That was via email, not on Indeed. And I applied, got the interview, and I remember meeting the woman and talking to her in the studio at the desk that was right at the front door. When you would walk in, there was a big like corner rounded desk, and she was late to the meeting, but it's fine. I was so excited. I was still young. I think I was 20, 21. So we had the interview, and I remember her asking me, you know, what do you want to do? Like, what's your goal? And this is after I'd already heard her story. And I was like, I want to be like you. Like, I want to have my own space. I want to own my own studio. Like, I want to be the like top of the line, top notch boss babe. And I think that really pumped her tires. So I got that job. And that job evidently ended up working at the studio that I now own. So like I said, it was called Brass Bombshells. I literally just applied to work here and I got it, and I started teaching classes, and I met some amazing people. I met Jenna, who is Jenna Fit, I believe, on Instagram. I met Laura, who owns Dress to Dance. I met Kelly. I met all these wonderful people. Coral was a student at the time as well. And I met so many people that are still around. Maybe not necessarily in the studio here now, but they're still dancing and they're still creating. And to me, like, that is just wild. So I would say from that moment of teaching dance, I got really close with the owner of the studio. And like I said, it was Brass Bombshells when she owned it, and then she rebranded to Bombshell Boutique. She also started working under the Army of Sass name, which is the Heels Dance Company, some of you may know. And I was then becoming her primary instructor for Army of Sass. And we were very close. We were very, very good friends. And it came to the point where she approached me and was like, I want to sell my pole studio, and I think you would be a good fit. And I was, at this point now, 22, and I went, yep, I'm in. Not realizing exactly what that meant. At that point, I had a lot of life experience in studios. I had zero experience owning a studio or owning a business and actually understanding what that meant. Knowing what I know now, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change buying the studio. I would change certain conversations that were had around it. But that was essentially the stepping stone of how I got to being a studio owner, was truly applying for a job and becoming very good friends with the owner. Yeah, she approached me and asked if I would buy it from her. And so there was obviously a whole process and lots of documents and paperwork behind that, which is a whole next question kind of thing. Yeah, those were my stepping stones. So I originally had just started by working here, and now I own it. Good stuff. What challenges did you face when starting out, and how did you navigate the financial and logistical aspects of turning dance into a career? Let me tell you, the amount of people that want to give a 22-year-old a large loan to purchase a pole dance studio, zero people want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. That sounds like a bad idea. It is not. It was so hard. That was the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life. Yeah, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I truly believe that the only reason why I got the loan to buy the studio, because I had no money. I was working dance jobs. Like, my personal life was a little bit decrepit at the time. Yeah, I had no money. I was just working dance jobs. And after paying for my car, paying all my bills, paying my rent, there's no money. Like, hello. Trying to get a loan to purchase a pole dance studio as a young woman was so hard. I truly believe that the only reason why I got that is because my name ended up on enough people's desks. And I think I just truly annoyed enough people, emailing, calling nonstop, that they were like, give this girl whatever she wants and get her out of our hair, is how I perceived that whole situation going down. I'm sure there was other things in the back end, but financially, it was, I don't even want to say hard, because again, I didn't know what I was doing. So she told me how much it cost to buy the studio, and I didn't even blink an eye. I was like, okay, sure. You set the price, it's your space. We went through the numbers of, everything. And again, knowing what I know now, I would go back and go, no, thank you. Let's revisit that, because that doesn't make sense. Again, like you have to learn through experience. So the hardest thing was just getting the loan and getting everything set up. Everything after that, I anticipated being a learning curve. Like, you don't really know unless you do it. And even now, it's been 7 years of me owning the studio, and it's like throwing things at a wall and just seeing what sticks is the best way to describe that. What skills or knowledge do I wish I had when starting? When I was managing the gymnastics studio, I had the wherewithal to still go, I should go to post-secondary for owning a business. And so when I was in the Mohawk Small Business and Entrepreneurship Program, it was actually pretty cool, because what we were learning about in class, I was also doing real time, because I was managing the gymnastics studio. I was doing a lot of the admin work and a lot of the behind the scenes. And again, I got very close with that owner as well. And so she would bring me the behind the scenes to, what it would be like to purchase a building, the zoning behind that building, everything that actually goes into the business behind the scenes, balancing the books. Oh my gosh. Like debit and the credit columns when you're doing the accounting. I will never forget that, because at that time I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And now I do it every Monday. Like it's actually pretty cool. So I actually feel very grateful in the sense that I feel like I set myself up unintentionally very well to do what I do now. I would say, I guess I just wish I had more knowledge on how much things actually are worth. When she sold the studio to me, a lot of it was just kind of sold on good faith. I would probably go back and challenge that a bit, because obviously, like, there's not much to a dance studio. We need floors, we need mirrors, and in this particular one, we needed poles, which that all came with the studio. But it was things like yoga blocks, chairs, shelving, couches, which I don't even think we had these at the time, decor, things like that are kind of thrown into the price, and then how much the business makes. So I wish I had more knowledge on how much things actually cost, because like I said, knowing what I know now, it didn't add up, and I would have questioned it a lot more. But again, like, that's one of those learning processes that I just had to go through. How do you maintain your passion for dance while dealing with the day-to-day? I go take other classes. I go be a student anywhere else. I'll go to Strut with Lindsay. I'll go to Kayla Falloon classes. I'll go to dance studio with Amy. So in order to keep my passion alive for dance, whether that's pole or heels or contemporary or whatever that genre may look like, I go be a student again. Because putting yourself in the position and opening your mind to learn, I think, is huge. And not only that, the environment of a student is so different than the environment of a teacher. And so being a student, and it's so funny because sometimes I'll take my instructor's classes and I'll go be like a little shit in their class, and I'm just like disturbing. But then I go to somebody else's class and I go back to the back corner and I keep to myself. And it really just depends on how I'm feeling that day. But the environment of being a student and like the energy of that, I always find, not always, I typically find so invigorating. Like, it's rejuvenating for me to be able to go and simply just dance. I don't have to worry about the paperwork. I don't have to worry about the scheduling of it. So that's how I keep my passion for dance alive while also being a studio owner. What's one thing that I wish dancers understood about turning their passion into a sustainable career? I wish that people understood how much turning dance or any kind of evening career I do admin work during the day, and then I would have to go teach in the evening, and typically people are off in the evening, and I have to teach on the weekend, and people are typically off on the weekend. So I wish that people understood that it really takes you away from your family. It really takes you away from your family. It's so difficult to navigate. Okay, you're gonna go work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I'm gonna go work the exact opposite, Monday to Friday, 5 to 9. And by the way, I work on the weekends, or I have shows on the weekends, or I have events on the weekends. And so I wish more people understood that just because I don't work a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, doesn't mean that it's my fault that we don't see each other. And this goes for any relationship. This is not just for at-home relationships, because that has taken a long time to balance. But it goes for friendships as well. If you work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and I work Monday to Friday, 5 to 9, but also I have to do admin work during the day, it's gonna be every once in a while like, hey, I'll come see you on your lunch break and I'll bring you lunch. Or like, you got time on Tuesday at 2 p.m., like, it's just, that's what I think I wish anyone understood. It's not my fault that you work for the man. It's essentially what I'm trying to say. Owning a business is crazy. It's such a roller coaster, because there are some days that you are on top of the world, and then there are some days that you want to dig your hole deeper. And scheduling is just one of the hardest parts of that. And I wish people understood that more, that I do want to see you and I do want to hang out with you. And for those people that understand a busy schedule, I have so much gratitude for. I don't need to talk to you every day to know that I have your back and you have mine. I have a friend that her and I would make plans once a month, once every other month, and we book it ahead. And like rarely do we cancel. Recently I had to cancel on her because I had to go cover for an instructor that couldn't make it to class. And it's like, that was our one time to hang out for that month. But sorry, like I gotta go teach a class. And it's those people that are so understanding of it that I am so grateful for, because I know that she gets it. She totally understands. So that's what I wish people understood. This is probably my longest answer out of all the questions, is that I just wish people understood that it's not that I don't want to see you, but I already have such limited, strange availability that I really need to sink it where it counts. And so those people that like pour into me and feed into me, I'm going to give you that same back as best as I can. But that is the hardest thing by far, is just knowing that you're going to see me pop in, pop out, and it might just be like a hi, bye. And that's how it goes. Yeah. The hardest thing would just be getting people to understand your schedule and respecting it. That's it for that episode. I had a lot of fun doing this one, actually. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you on this one. Okay, love you, bye.